This is the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast with your host, Kevin Murray.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast. On this episode, we have finally found the last Infinity Stone. Andy and Jason have made their appearances, but things have never felt entirely complete until today. From the Fantasy Footballers podcast, it's the one and only Mike, the Fantasy Hitman Wright. Welcome to the show, my friend.
What's going on? So which stone am I? What is the final? Josh, what's the final stone that he gets?
The Soul Stone.
The Soul Stone? I don't know
Yeah.
if his audio's coming, but yeah, sure. That makes sense. I'm the soul of the show.
There you go. That's what I was thinking. Exactly. No, I'm thrilled to have you on here. Obviously, this is going to be a lot of fun. Sharing your background and some of your passion behind fantasy sports, obviously, and much, much more. You are a complex person that has a lot of interest outside of fantasy sports. So we're going to dive into a little bit of everything here. So obviously, 10 seasons of the Fantasy Footballers podcast. Can you believe that?
Yeah, in the 10 seasons in the can, man. We're going on to 11 here.
Amazing. Can
I believe that? Part of me can. Like, I was... probably a little too cocky at the beginning of not outwardly, but just in my, so cocky is the wrong word. I was pretty confident going through that first year that like there's something magical that is happening right now with the show, with the content, with our listeners, with the connection of the listeners. But I will tell you, going from the first full season where we went to the 5 shows a day in August through the whole season, and then heading into, we're year round, so we're still doing the off-season shows, but it's that as we started to get to training camp, there was that, like, what if people don't come back to the show, and just how horrifying that would have been. But people came back, and here we are, a decade later.
Well, it's been so fun to witness your journey for sure. Obviously, each year you guys seem to raise the bar. What's in store? What's new for 2025 from the Ballers? At least things that you can disclose.
Sure. The new stuff, we're still tightening up the move to in season. When we first started, our membership, like the way that people were able to help support us, so we didn't have to shutter everything because we were making zero cash. Was we were over on Patreon, and Patreon just it was great for the business. I felt like we had a really good product to offer, and the people were responding, and it just eventually the business was maturing to a point of if we were at I feel like we're like 5 years in, and we're like, we should not be on Patreon anymore. Like our business, what our needs for Patreon are way past that. We had essentially turned them really just into a payment processor where all of the content was on our site, but we had to hack this Patreon authorization to authorize your membership on our website, and it was clunky. But we didn't have we didn't have the manpower to change it. 2, business-wise, it's like Patreon, it's going good, so why would you bail on Patreon? But last year, last year's off season, that was the project for like the entirety of the year. Was we got a great dev team, but it was a heavy lift to get everything moved over, get all the memberships onto our actual site. So we're still kind of tightening the screws, so to speak, on that process, making it better for everyone, because we take pride in having good content, but we also want the user experience to be just as clean and slick as it can possibly be, so that people, like, there's no friction for people. They can get where they need to be. There's no problems. If there's problems, we got an amazing customer service. That's Papa Josh, although he's doing a little bit less of it these days as he's stepped into being a full-time deucer. But it's kind of boring because it's more technical stuff. There's as of right now, there's nothing big, sexy, and flashy to announce.
That's okay. That's okay. Obviously, you got the UDK coming out this year. I'm sure it's going to be just a next level when it comes to where it came from. It's an incredible product. Obviously, recommend everybody getting that for sure. Now, obviously, you have a passion for sports. I know that you were kind of late when it comes to just developing that passion. Can you share a little bit about your background when it comes to just finding a love for sports? Yeah, and then just as a kid, growing up, when you did find that passion, who were your teams and players across the sports spectrum that you loved the most?
Sure. So growing up, the parents put me in. Let's see. I think I played some t-ball when I was wee. Like, I don't remember that at all. I've seen videos of it. And then they tried to move me into soccer, but I was, I still have the issues, but as a youth, my asthma and my allergies were horrifically bad. So running on grass, and in Arizona, we call it grass. It's not really like it is. It's not lush and green. It's brown and dead and just gets all up in your lungs and your sinuses. So it was not for me. And on top of that, I was a music kid. My mom put me in piano lessons, I think, when I was 3 years old. So that was my path. That was my destiny for, basically all of my adolescence. So that's what I thought I was going to do. And I got to, when did it really happen? So the big shift of really loving football was the Cardinals, which they were the Phoenix Cardinals at one point a long, long time ago, and they played in a college stadium, which ASU people, I'm not going to hurt any feelings. That stadium sucks, dude. It is bad. I mean, it's fine for college, I guess, but like, this is not a pro NFL stadium. And we finally, talking Arizona, in the Cardinals, I'm sure I wasn't involved, so I don't know what the taxpayers did to bail out the Bidwells to build this huge, awesome stadium. But eventually they announced, we're going to do it. We're going to build it out in Glendale, which is where I grew up. And to get the best shot at good seats, you had to get season tickets at ASU for a couple years. So we did that, and if you've never seen it, it's an outdoor stadium. It's an outdoor stadium with metal bleachers in Arizona. I'm not sure who thought that was a great idea. So, we suffered through a couple years, and the team is just so bad where there were times where my dad, it was just 2 tickets. It's me and my dad, and we're like, I don't even know if I want to go today. It's an hour away. The product sucks. But whatever. Eventually we get in the new stadium, and we're doing better. The Kurt Warner run happens, and that's when the diehard fandom really took place. And then I don't know when the Steve Nash Phoenix Suns era started, but that's when I was a way bigger basketball fan than a football fan at that period. I watched literally every Suns game. I would schedule my life around the Suns. Like, I'd be at my now wife. I'd be at her house when she was my girlfriend. I'm like, I gotta go. This Suns game's on, so I gotta be home for that. And I was just that was the best. And then after that era kind of died down, then the passion for football really kicked off because I was playing some fantasy basketball. Moved over to some fantasy football. End up going back to college, getting my job with the other 2 guys on the show. And then that's when fantasy kind of became everything, where it just was all-consuming for me. So that's the long-winded way of how I got into football.
Yeah, so when it comes to the fandom and like what's deep inside, in that soul stone, Phoenix Suns wins a championship or Arizona Cardinals win a championship, which one hits you more?
Oh, man. It's probably still the Cardinals. I was in Tampa. I was at the Super Bowl. Yeah. Me and Pops saw we're like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. We will figure the money out. And we did. We got there and we won the Super Bowl with 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
And then we did not. And it was, I was depressed for over a week. like to the point of my wife's brother was over at one point, and I guess he was talking to my wife's like, what is going on with Mike? He seems, because I was so destroyed from from the highest of high that I've ever felt on that Larry touchdown into just how did we lose? We won the Super Bowl with 2 minutes left, and then we lost. So that's the background.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can relate. One of my biggest heartbreaks was a Super Bowl in Glendale where my Seahawks, for some reason, did not give the ball to Marshawn. I'm still thinking about it. So you having a week. One. Yeah, it's true. It's true. I wish it was a different order, though. Get that Super Bowl in New York first or second, and life's good. But I still think about it.
I get it.
Obviously, with sports, though, I mean, competition is vital. You and the Ballers, you guys have high competition. A lot of competition in your spirits. I've seen it in person, when it comes to foosball and beer pong and shuffleboard. It doesn't matter. And obviously every, listener out there hears it on the show. Like, where does that competitive spirit come from with you?
I'm not sure. I don't know, because even though I wasn't involved in sports, I was in video games, and I took as a teenager, I took a lot of pride of like, I will be the best of my friend group. It's like, I will be the best player at every game. I didn't succeed of that, but I mean I'm sure if we asked my buddies, it would be like, yeah, Mike, and then my buddy Nick, like, we were the best ones, just consistently. And I had some games where it was just I was untouchable, and so I don't know where it came from, because my mom is not. And I guess my dad probably has it, but he's a man of the cloth. He's been a pastor. He's retiring on Sunday. So I mean,
congrats.
He is 40-something years deep into his job. So I think he has it. Yeah, no, he definitely had. Now I'm remembering. Like, we would have back in the Barkley days of the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
So when they were and in the Barkley era, unfortunately, I wasn't a diehard Suns fan. I watched and liked them, but I wasn't locked in to that era like I did for the Steve Nash era. But I'm now remembering there'd be playoff games where the Suns are in, and he'd invite like family over, and there'd be all this watching, and then he'd leave. He would have to go walk for the whole second half of the game. Like, he could not handle it because it was just the anxiety and the competition inside. So I guess it is there. It just came out from different ways from my father, but it got passed down to me in a big way.
I love it. No, yeah, that was a fun era of basketball. Again, Sonics fan. So that was good times back there. That Suns team was tough. But again, when it comes to the competition, who is the most competitive baller? Who's the most gracious in defeat, and who takes losses the worst?
Man, depends on the game. It depends on the game and where we rank ourselves, I guess, so to speak. Because it's like, so Andy's by far the best pickleball player of us. We're all excellent players, but Andy's the best one. So I think when he loses, he takes it the hardest, because he's the guy at the top, right? Where we'll have periods of where Andy just doesn't lose a game for weeks. So I think that when he loses of that game, it's rough. We're all maniacs, though, man. We're to probably a little bit of an unhealthy degree, but it has served the business well.
For sure.
That I mean, when you're this far in, we're humans. You can find a routine, you can find some complacency, and then we see a startup starting to make some moves, and we go, Then the juices start firing of like, not in the Baller's house. We compete. So it has. I think it's been a secret sauce to the business growing and thriving is that the three of us are so competitive, and I mean, it's the classic competitor thing of I hate losing more than I like winning.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't like losing. I do not like it.
Well, one thing you do like is, again, music. Huge music background. You mentioned that earlier. What age was it when you I'm going to be a rock star when I grow up? When was that?
That was. It must have been about junior high.
Okay.
Because I grew up. My evolution of instruments was piano at a very young age. I hated piano lessons. I hated it, and I apparently was complaining enough that my parents eventually couldn't handle it. They're like, fine, which sucks because it's like, you guys should have, I've done this. Like, you should have made me keep doing the piano lessons. But I was in piano for, I don't know, 5-6 years. And I must have had a tiny little break of playing an instrument. But then what grade was that? 4th grade. You get they dazzle everyone with the school band. And they're who wants to play in the school band? Check out how cool the saxophone is. I'm like, oh, man, that is a hot, sexy instrument. But I do have contrarian in me of, well, if everyone thinks this is cool, I'm going to go do that thing. I have a pretty nasty streak of that. So I was like, nope, I'm going to go play trumpet. So in 4th grade, I picked up the trumpet, played for a year. 5th grade, I moved over to the baritone, which plays just like a trumpet, but it's a lower register. And then 6th grade, took band off. In the meantime, I'm still doing like all choir stuff because I'm at church all the time because of my dad. So I'm in the youth choir. Then 7th grade was bass guitar. Then that turned into real guitar. So once I was on a guitar and we were forming our garage bands and stuff, that was now this is what I'm going to do. It's 100% going to work, and I'm going to be a touring rock star.
That's amazing. Now, and you did play like in bands and that kind of stuff. Like, what are some of your favorite memories, in that era of your life?
So, I mean, some of the best memories of playing live. Man, I mean, there's for performers, there's nothing like playing live. It is the greatest. It is the best thing in the entire world. A couple highlights would be, so my first band, we were around for a couple years. Eventually, scratched enough money. That's the wrong whatever. Scraped enough money together, and we put out, like, we made our own CD and put it out, and then we had this huge CD release party where we paid up to get some lights, and like that was a pretty awesome event. That felt really, really good. And then, I mean, the other memories are like not necessarily on the stage, but I lived in LA for a year, a year or so, because my cousin he became an audio engineer, and I followed him out, and we were still working on some band stuff, and we made friends with like a high A&R artist representation, and
Okay.
like we took some meetings like in the Universal building. So it was like you felt like a pretty big shot getting to go, give your name, go up the elevators, and you felt like you're like, this is it, it's happening. It did not happen, but so just memories of that, and playing live is the best.
How about a style of music? Like, what is it that you love to play, and what's your favorite kind of music to listen to?
I mean, that's morphed through my whole life. If you're in junior high and you start playing a guitar, there's certain rules of you must listen to Metallica. That is like you're not allowed to play a guitar without doing that. So Metallica for a long time was the greatest band of all time, and then had some chance encounters where I got exposed to NoFX, punk bands. So they've been kind of my favorite or second favorite band my entire life, or most of my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in terms of what music we were kind of eclectic, man, because I was on guitar, we had a bass, drums, and then my other buddy was a keyboard player. So we were like at a time where playing an electronic keyboard was not cool. We had a keyboard, and we had like good 3-part harmonies. We were for a teen band, we were pretty good, and we were. I guess I would classify us as alternative. We weren't like full garage alternative rock like Weezer or anything like that, but we'd have some songs like that. And I know it's a real music cliche to be like, yeah, we don't sound like anybody, but we sounded like a lot of different bands because I was jumping. I was a songwriter, and I was jumping all over the place trying to figure out, like what's our pocket. And I guess the pocket was a big pocket because we played all sorts of crazy music.
So how do you still scratch that itch? And are you currently working on any special music projects?
You're setting me up here.
I'm setting you up.
I did talk to you. Yeah, I am. When I started the Footballers, I got, let's see, about year 4, because those first few years was everything was live, breathe, Footballers. Get this going, make sure that this thing works. And then got to the point of, okay, we seem pretty secure, and I would tell myself every off season, I'm going to do a musical project. I'm going to do one. I don't know what it is just yet. And then this past year, the punk band I talked about, NoFX, they had their farewell tour, the final of it, where me and some buddies went to their final 3 shows. And it awoke something where it's like, this is it, man. This is what I got to do. So I've been, kind of quietly since November when I can find some spare time, putting some stuff together. So I've hopefully here over the next couple of months I'll have a little punk rock EP that I can put out.
I love it. That's awesome. Awesome to hear for sure. Now, obviously, your passion for music, it led to Broken Bowl Game Studios, right? Yes. Like you're the audio guy, and obviously that's where Fantasy Footballers podcast was born.
Yeah,
and
that was the real incubation.
That's right. And your music, obviously, it's been a huge part. It's iconic, right? The music for the Ballers is so iconic these days. Again,
it's the audio brand of the show. Kind of helps set a tone of. You're like, well, I'm not getting into, like, I feel like when you pull up our theme music, this is a little bit of a different show. Like, you're like, what is this rock? Is this like, and it's not modern rock. I don't even know what kind of rock I would even consider the opener for the Footballers. But then just used that spiraled into all of the segment drops that when we introduce it, and so I do all the music, and it helps. I mean, it helps set a tone of this is part of the DNA of the show.
For sure. Yeah, huge credit to you on that front. And when it comes to actually playing the game, your league of record is kind of like that foundation of the show, right? And what originally you were on the outside, right? It was a 10-man league. They added a couple spots and you got in. When you were on the outside, were you really jealous of the league? And how did you feel when you got that invite?
I wasn't a diehard fantasy player yet, but I had already gotten to the point where like I knew who all the kickers were. So I mean, that's where my football knowledge was. Like that's a sick human being. Why do you know all the kickers? And that's like I had remembering that now of yes, but I was very jealous of when it was 10 people, and you're like, man, I would love to play in this league because so many people in the office were in it, and people were talking about it nonstop. And then I at some point kickers did come up where I think I was talking with Andy, and I'm like, oh no, it's just so and so, whoever was the Chargers kicker at the time. He's like, how do you know the kickers? I'm like, dude, I don't know. I'm in tune. I'm locked. I watch all the games and everything. And then they made the decision to expand to 12. And then me and one of the other guys in the office, we snuck in.
Amazing. And obviously that home league it's such a fundamental part of the show's foundation. I mean, it brings so much relatable. It's such a relatable aspect for the listeners, I think.
It's weird something that the fantasy football industry, I guess maybe I would say like outsiders of fantasy football, they have always, you keep getting pitched on ideas of celebrity leagues. Like this, create a fantasy football league that others are going to watch and latch onto, and it's like you're forgetting the number one rule of fantasy football: no one cares about your fantasy football league.
Yeah,
and we kind of lived by that motto for a long time, where we would not frequently bring up the league of record. We would bring up moves we made because we're that's based off of our advice. Hey, I did this, trying to help people set some value. And then we would just get feedback of, we want more. I want a little bit more. Talk about your league of record. I thought it was like, these people, no, they don't actually want us to talk about the league of record. And I think based off of just how we run our show, where we part of the show is our show is not just information on how to play fantasy football. It's also we're three friends having a conversation and creating the space where it feels like you are the fourth person, you're closing the square of the conversation that's happening, even though you can't talk to us. So I think that the adding so much of our personal lives into the podcast, where so many times I'll have I'll run into a fan and they'll talk about just something from my life. I'm like, dude, I do not remember saying that on the show. I guess I did. Well, it's out there. So I think because of that people care a little bit more about the league of record, especially like us versus our producers is kind of a shtick on the show now. And people like to hear about that, I guess, because they've asked for more, we've given them more, and we don't get complaints.
Well, you guys are so relatable. You guys are all so so individually unique and different. So it's easy to relate to one of you or all of you at some point. And I think that you bring in the show or the league, and that's just something everyone, the reason why they're listening to the show is because they want to win their league and they get your competitiveness. I think it all comes down to just being able to relate to you guys. And I think it's obviously you guys have done an amazing job with that. With that league of record, though, like what to you, just on the personal side, what is it that makes it so special?
Oh man, I think the when I first got in, it was already a carryover of buddies from college. I believe that's how it started, and then just brought our friendships, and the league was. The guys I didn't know who weren't in the office, they were welcoming and open, and we all, everyone just kind of hit it off right away. So it became a pretty tight group of I like these guys, but now I weigh that with competition of I like them, and now I need to destroy them even more because I like them.
Yeah.
So I think that's, and the way that when we win, we are so obnoxious to the other person that it drives the other person to want to win even more. Like I cannot let that happen again. I can't have my buddy talking to me so disparagingly because I have no comeback. You won. You won the league. No matter what I say, like, it was fluky, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. You won. I have nothing to refute that. So I think that has just stacked just over years has stacked up to become this beast that it is.
How about any fun memories you have when it comes to traditions and some of the live drafts and singing telegrams? I mean, talk about some of the fun components that make that league special.
Sure. It's always an in-person draft. We've been a little bit more lenient recently because we're all old, we all have kids. Sometimes schedules just don't work. But at the beginning, it was hardcore. It's like, if you don't show up to the draft, you're out. You're out of the league. I mean, we're all friends, and we want you to be in the league, but this is a requirement because the draft day is so sacred. So every draft has always been in person. We've had multiple times of having a buddy dress up and we write the picks on a notepad or a note card and hand it to them and they read it out. I'm super obnoxious with, I generally find a song and it's like this is the song of the draft and I find opportune times to play it. Of like 1 year it was Turned Down for What, and it was just like before every pick I'd blast that thing out there. And then 1 year it was oh goodness gracious, not Dancing on the Ceiling. It was a Lionel Richie song. I can't remember which one it was, but it just and I have a memory of where finishing early because the previous year I had to trade some picks to move up, so I was done with my draft early, and I took my banner because everyone has a banner, and I'm just wearing it as a cape, running, just being obnoxious, and so just things like that have kept the passion alive for the league, and then on top of that, we made a podcast for the league, just for 12 people, and then that podcast eventually turned into the Fantasy Footballers.
Incredible. And you guys got the Wheel of Water. You guys still do that as last place punishment?
Yes, we do. We do.
Nice.
And we've upped it. You have to wear a turtleneck.
Okay.
And so then it all soaks in, and then when you go sit inside, you're like, oh, Arizona when it's hot, that doesn't sound bad. Except then you go in when you're outside getting watered, you're like, it's okay. I'm the one who's comfortable. But then you go inside where the air conditioner is cranked and you freeze out.
That's perfect. It's perfect. And you guys you have co-managers too in that league, right? So what are your thoughts on co-managers in fantasy leagues and how that can help enhance a fantasy league experience?
I mean, I fought it for a while because I wanted all the glory. Like when I win, I won. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But eventually I brought so our manager Damon, he was kind of a co-manager for a little bit, but he busy and not able to fully manage. But then I brought Kyle in to be Kyle's one of our employees. I mean, producer, big time part of the show. So I brought him in, and it's nice, man. It's nice to have someone who he doesn't care about the team as much as I do, of course, because I'm the manager, he's the co-manager.
Yeah.
But he cares and he wants to win, and it's a sounding board. It's another pair of eyes on the waiver wire, because we've all done our waivers run, and you see a player picked up and you're like, what? That guy was on the waiver wire? I didn't even think to look for him. So having another person, it really does make it enjoyable.
Who has the most titles in that league?
It is now tied with me and Andy.
Okay.
We both have 3.
All right. And you've obviously won a lot of championships in your journey in the fantasy. Winning championships, obviously, it connects you to players. For you, can you name like a Mount Rushmore, like four players that are just like your guys when it comes to bringing you to championship glory?
Yeah, I mean, number one at the tippy top is Mr. Antonio Brown, who I traded for right before he became the Antonio Brown, and it was a matter of desperation where I had Julio Jones was going to be my big dude this year, and I don't remember what season it was, but it's Julio breaks his foot or whatever. And I was locked into Twitter and stuff, and I saw it come through before everybody else knew what was happening, and I was like, oh no, my team would be doomed losing that sort of power. Yeah. I didn't have wide receiver depth. I had running back depth, so I went out to a team and I sent some trade offers over there. And I said, okay, here's who I can give you. So I traded, it was D'Angelo Williams on the Panthers, and I can't remember the other wide receiver, but I gave him the choice. I said, I'll take this guy or I'll take Antonio Brown, and I will give you D. Will. and he sent Antonio Brown over.
Oh man,
right before the rocket ship took off, and
Jeez.
he was on my team because of the way that the keepers work. He was on my team for I'd say 90% of his glory run. I eventually had to trade him so I could get some assets to rebuild off of a 1 year things went real bad for me. But I had him. Adrian Peterson that's my dude. Yeah, I'm a Minnesota Vikings secondary fan. RG3 was a big part of my first championship in the league of record. Man, who else would be? I don't know if I have a fourth. At least not off the top of my head.
Right on. I love it.
Special shout out to Jimmy Graham.
Okay.
Yeah, because I got Jimmy Graham right before he turned into Jimmy Graham.
Saints Jimmy Graham, yes. Not Seahawks Jimmy Graham.
No, if you listen to the show forever, you knew
yes.
that when he went to Seattle, I was OUT.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. And very, very smart move on that front. So obviously, professionally, you've had such a incredible decade. You got so many experiences, unique experiences. Like, so for you, what are your favorite, most memorable experiences?
From the show?
Obviously, well, just for you. Obviously, there's industry awards. There's the live shows. There's going to the ESPYs. There's the iHeartRadio show. There's going to the Super Bowl. Like, there's so many things you've done because of the fantasy footballers. Sure. Like, what stands out to you? Like, what's the most meaningful things that you've experienced?
Man, so I'll start with after the first year, and it's everything's brand new to us, as we're moving through. But then after championship week, the flood of tweets of I won. You guys helped me, and too many people are like, you're the reason I won. It's like no. We're just giving some advice, and thankfully you got the good piece because I give some crap advice too. But the flood of tweets of people saying that they won, it was overwhelming that first year. I was not expecting nor prepared for that. The live shows, a couple real standouts. The intro at Minnesota when we went on, we did a 5-city tour, and the response from the Minnesotans was just truly overwhelming. We tell the story of you can go pull up the video, and you can see me and Jason like really close to ugly crying because we're so overwhelmed by the love of. It's a fantasy football show, and we're doing a live performance. It's all so weird. So them, then I'm trying. Where was I think it was? If it was Dallas or Chicago. So the first year, because this is pre-COVID, but we had a year where we were able to do meet and greets at the end because it's more tenable of the amount of people who are there. But we had one particular city where I feel like every single person at the show waited in line, and we were shaking hands, talking to people, hearing incredible stories of people, saying, "Hey, the podcast did this for me," and you're like, "I did not expect that I would be hearing this story ever." But it was over an hour where the people at the back of the line waited over an hour just to take a picture and say hi to us. So that one sticks with me.
I love it. No, I went to that New York one, and that was a massive line at the end of it, and such a fun one. If you see a Mike Wright GIF on social media, I might be the creator of that.
It's probably if you definitely are. I don't know who else is gifting me.
No, but so much fun. Like that, like those live events. So special because it's true. It's the Foot Clan, celebrating their secret weapon, the fantasy footballers. Share just a few thoughts on the Foot Clan and how much they've meant to you over the years.
Well, it's cheesy and whatever, but it is everything. Like the show doesn't exist where without the support of the fans, and not just people listening, like people have to be engaged and want to engage with us and with the show, because there's big shows out there where, but like that's the end of the relationship, is I listen to your show and I move on with my day, where that doesn't seem to be what the case is for us with our listeners. People get really locked in, and I do my best to make sure that I'm interacting. Responding to everything on Twitter is not tenable anymore, which in the beginning days I responded to literally every single person. I can't do that anymore, just with the amount of stuff I got to do for work and the amount of messages that come in. But I mean, our families wouldn't be where we are without the support of the Foot Clan. I wouldn't have. We got like 10 plus employees now of guys with families, with kids that we get to support and do awesome work together because of the Foot Clan.
It's amazing. And the fantasy football community too has been impacted by you guys so much. I don't know if there's anybody that, I mean, there was a massive boom in content creation from 2017 to 2022 probably, where there's so many people that just said, I want to get into fantasy content creation. And I would say that you guys influence that more than anybody. Just people, again, I think the relatable aspects of it, just you inspired a lot of people to get involved and start podcasts and do this and that. And the community is obviously very appreciative of you. I've seen you at events where, you're constantly asking or answering questions and helping, advise people that want to learn more and gain some inspiration from you. What advice do you have for people that want to get more involved in the fantasy space and in content creation?
Sure. I mean, I appreciate that, because there's a part of me that's like, I hold some pride of, look, I'm not responsible for everything, but you're like, I think I like to believe that that our show really inspired people, because our background was not, or I would say the show is independent. The show's been independent since it started. We didn't have, and I'm not knocking the networks, but we didn't have the power of a network. We don't have ESPN. We don't have CBS boosting us. And so I think that the showing that it's not impossible for guys just on their own, if they want to put it together, that there's people out there that you might find an audience. I mean, advice, I would start with the technical advice, and jump on YouTube, learn audio. If you are doing audio and you're putting a podcast out, know how to do audio. It can be overwhelming, I bet, for a lot of people. Music, part of my musician journey was a lot of work in an audio in a studio, working with audio engineers, helping produce things. And so and then at Broken Bulb, funny enough, we had this weird triforce of skills between me, Andy, and Jason of when we first started this. Like, those two have incredible business acumen, which I'm not a business guy. I'm just a creative, and I'm better now because I've worked for a decade with two guys who really know business. But at the beginning, that's not what I did. I did audio, which really helped out of the point I was making. At Broken Bulb, right, I'm doing all the audio, and this is the days of not everyone has high-speed internet. So you have to compress audio files and make them as small as you possibly can, and that degrades your sound quality. And me and Jason, not in a mean-spirited way, but we would butt heads of, I'm like, I can't make it smaller. And he's like, you have to make it smaller. And then I'm like, fine. So I'll go, compress it even more. And then it sounds like crap to me. And he'll say, nope, that works. I'm like, no, it sounds awful. Like, the file size is terrible, but is good, but it sounds bad. And I mean, I worked personally, figured out a process of making audio sound great while shrinking the file size. So that just happened to be a skill that I grew. And when we moved into podcasting, when we first started, this was a over the cell phone. So if you're not on Wi-Fi, you have to have your file size under, I think it was 50 megabytes. And if you are not under 50 megabytes, people can't stream it. They have to wait till they're on Wi-Fi to get your show. So we had to figure out how do you get a good sounding show, but people can still actually get it with the technical limitations of everything. And that was part of our advantage, is I knew how to do that. So our show sounded great, and the file size was still manageable. So that, just little things like that. Like I said, we all fit in with this Triforce of power of Andy built the website. I was working on the audio. Jason was working on these business things. So it was looking back, like, I can't believe how perfect our three skill sets fit together to make a podcast. It was weird.
It's amazing. It's amazing, though, and great advice for people to zero in on certain aspects of
learn
creation.
Your technical skills.
Yeah,
and then it's reps, dude. It's getting used to talking into a microphone, hearing yourself in your ears, and generally speaking, no one likes the sound of their voice once they hear what it really sounds like. Because we all think we sound one way. You don't. You do not sound like that to other people.
So weird.
You're like, oh my God, that's what I sound like? It's terrible. But then getting reps. If you go back, which please do not go back to our early shows, because when I go back, you go, it hurts my heart to go and listen to the way that we talk. But it's just, that's time. That's you getting reps on a microphone. There's no other way around just doing it and getting better at it.
Yeah, it's all part of the journey. Now, switching gears to just another topic that I know is important to you is mental health. What
Sure.
advice do you have for people that have been impacted in some varying way with mental health, and how do you yourself just find balance with family life and content creation and running a business and all that?
Sure, man. It is tough. So the background on that, why you're even bringing it up, is I'm pretty vocal about, like, I'm willing to share my story of just real bad depression in high school, like, the unthinkable, that level. And then my parents just trying to figure it out and get me through it, and which I did. I mean, I eventually came out of it, but it is a monster that I am forever running from. Like, that catches me, and when I feel it catching up to me, it's like, take an evaluation of, okay, how am I taking care of myself? Am I sleeping enough? How's my diet? Am I working out? Because look, working out gives you far more than just working out is more than trying to get a six-pack. I'm never gonna have a six-pack, dude, like that. But I need to work out because it helps my physical and it helps my mental health. So those are kind of like the three big checkpoints. But managing it while running a company, doing all this stuff, running the family. I have 3 kids. I've been married. Let's see. This will be 19. My 19th wedding anniversary is coming up here in a week or so, and it's hard, man. You frequently find that you've overstretched into one area, and that has come at a cost of yourself. So it's just when you feel it, and you're like, man, I'm not feeling great about myself. I'm not feeling great about my life right now. What is going on? Those are the big 3 that I always go back to. And sure, I swear it's like 100%. Sure enough, at least one of those, you're like, yeah, I've let the diet go. I've been indulging in the IPAs a little bit too much. I gotta rein that back. I gotta get more in control of those things. So that's my low level advice for people.
Well, I think your testimony and your advocacy for mental health is probably helped a ton of people along the way.
And
So
talking to, like, be willing to talk. You're not
that's
weird.
great.
You aren't weird.
Yeah.
Everybody has it. Like, some people have it worse, but everybody goes through it.
Yeah.
So you're not weak because you're like, oh, I got to be able to handle my problems. No, you don't, man. It takes a village, right? Because we're humans. As much as I don't really like people sometimes, like, you need them. You got to have a group that you can talk to and you can be willing to share those things.
Well, it's great stuff right there. Now, obviously, it's time to hit some rapid fire questions. We're gonna fly through these. Let me know first things that come to mind. I'm gonna throw out some questions and we'll go from there. What's the origin of
what questions are we talking about?
They're coming. What's the origin of the Fantasy Hitman name?
It's a bad story. It is the fantasy footballers had just started. It's myself and Andy. It's only us two. And we're in like week 3. And Andy had a full family vacation where he was going to be out of town for the week. And I'm like, dude, we're cooking. We can't lose our momentum. So I bring in one of the other guys from the league. And Fantasy Hitman was one of the names that was on like our shorter list of like, yeah, it's a cool name. And thankfully we went with fantasy footballers because it has been tremendous for SEO. It turns out when you play fantasy football, fantasy footballers is not a big stretch for when people are searching that. But just in that show, it was really just me talking, and I don't know, was feeling goofy that day, and I told my co-host, his name's Nick Vance, he's in the League of Record, I said, no, I want you to call me the Fantasy Hitman. And this just became a bit on that show. And then when Andy came back and he's introducing me, he's like, Mike Wright. I'm like, well, no, it's Mike the Fantasy Hitman now. And he was so annoyed by it that I had to keep doing it as a bit. And then it eventually wasn't a bit anymore.
That's awesome. Now, do you ever miss the man bun?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Having those long, luxurious locks. Like, there's times where it's really fun to have it, but there are times when you're like, oh, I'm so glad I don't have long hair right now. But yeah,
that's
of course.
Awesome. Okay, yeah.
My hair through my life has done many wild things. I for the most part haven't been very afraid to do crazy stuff to my hair.
Love it. Now, what's your all-time favorite video game?
All-time favorite video game would I'm gonna go Link to the Past, Super Nintendo. So the Zelda on the Super Nintendo, it's that one, or it's the Secret of Monkey Island, because the Secret of Monkey Island brought me on it opened a path. Well, I guess I played Maniac Mansion first, but Secret of Monkey Island was when I was young enough to be like, wait, there's a bunch of games like this, and that. Growing up, like that was my favorite genre, is the graphic adventure, the point and click adventure, solving puzzles, is just silliness. So those are the two games that would be on my favorites.
Nice. How about an all-time favorite TV show?
Oh, all-time favorite TV show. Top of head is Game of Thrones. It was before the end, but it was It's hard to remember just how good and how powerful that was. Game of Thrones feels like that was the last show, because it was episodic. It was once a week, and we're all watching it at the exact same time. It's even before, I think, like HBO Go or Max Go, whatever it's called now. That wasn't even around at the beginning. Yeah. It was, if you want to watch it, you're going to DVR it or watch it live Sunday night, and everyone comes in on Monday. Did you watch? And then you have the people like, I didn't get to watch yet. You're plugging your ears, running away, screaming, no spoilers. But just the cultural impact of that show, and then, of course, if you watch the show, the twists and turns of they were not it's the first show I've ever seen where they were not afraid to just off a character.
Yeah.
Of like, we're all used to network TV where someone's in danger. You're like, yeah. gonna bounce back. And then at that first season, I remember I hadn't been spoiled for the first season of Game of Thrones. Which, if this is a spoiler for Game of Thrones, people, I'm giving, which is like whatever, so old. But the last episode when Ned gets beheaded, it was like, okay, here comes the arrow, the Robin Hood arrow is gonna hit the guy or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he dies, and you're like, you're not allowed to do that. You can't do that in TV shows. So that was the moment where you went, I am watching a show that unlike anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it was the show after the show for you guys, the footballers, that got me to like binge the first 2 seasons just to get
nice.
caught up. So it's because of you guys I fell in love with that same show. So
nice.
How about an all-time favorite movie?
Die Hard.
Okay, well,
Die Hard and Blade Runner are my 2 favorite movies.
Now, is Goofy Movie your favorite all-time cartoon? And
yes.
If so, what's the origin of that? Like, why is it just the music component?
The music component was huge. It was, I mean, it was just such a relatable movie when I was a kid. I mean, I'm a Disney kid. I love Disneyland. Me and my family go at least once a year, sometimes more. But look, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. It's a 6-hour drive for us. And the music was so huge into drawing me into, and the lasting power of the Goofy movie, or a Goofy movie. I apologize. And then got older. You know, there was definitely a gap where I wasn't watching it, but then I have kids, and we're going through the library of cartoons, and when you're a kid and you watch a Goofy movie, it's one thing. Then you become a father, and you watch Goofy movie, and you're like, Goofy's done nothing wrong, Max. You're a monster. He just wants to be part of your life. So having 2 completely unique perspectives for the exact same movie, while all the music still is kicking some serious butt, it keeps it at the top for me.
I love it. Now, you said you love Disney, big time Disney vacations. You know, that goes back to your childhood, as far as I recall.
Yep.
What's your favorite ride there? And like, what are your favorite traditions with Disney?
So the tradition when I was growing up, which we've carried this one on with our kids, was go at Christmas. And so it just became synonymous for the rights, is part of the whole Christmas experience. You know, decorations are going up, the music, everything, lights, the food, and Disneyland. And if you are a Christmas person and you haven't done Disneyland at Christmas, boy, oh boy, do I have an incredible opportunity for you, because it is pure magic. They do a fireworks show that it only runs during the holidays. And one year we were there, and one of my wife's brothers was there. So a brother-in-law, he brought his family, and they're not Disney people, right? I don't even know if they had been to Disneyland in forever. But he's got his kids. We're watching the show, the fireworks show, which is incredible. They have these projections that they put up now on the walls to enhance the experience. And then at the very end, once you've been through the whole show, they do fake snow, which it's the soap bubbles. But
yeah,
with the way that they light everything, it is a magical moment. And I look over, and my brother-in-law is like he's like the tears are going down his face, because it's. And he's not a Disney person. And I'm like, exactly, dude. This is why. There is something magical that they're able. I mean, they're manipulating us, but they're the way that they can work the emotion of the holiday is fantastic. Christmas without Disney I don't want to do that.
And obviously you do love Christmas. Can you advise the listeners and viewers when it's appropriate to decorate?
I am a November 1st. The tree goes up. We don't do full house decoration on November 1st. And I mean, look, that's a fun bit on the show, because I know that it perturbs some people, and sometimes you got to poke the bear. But the honest truth is, decorate when you want to decorate. I don't care, but I put my tree up in November because Christmas season is awesome, and I want to enjoy it as long as I can.
And I know one thing you also love is you love food. Keep or cut, Raising Cane's or Chipotle?
Oh, well, I mean, you're saying I have to cut one?
Yeah.
Good Lord. If I have to cut one, I have to cut Cane's just because I can't do anything remotely healthy there.
Okay, that's fair.
Oh my gosh, it is so good. And to all look, there are Raising Cane's haters out there. They exist for sure. And the every time the argument against Raising Cane's, when I hear it, it's the chicken is bland, the sauce is doing all the work. Yeah, it is. But like, so what? You're like, oh, if I take the seasoning off of this chicken, it's not good. The chicken is made to complement with the sauce. You're not supposed to eat it without the sauce. The sauce is the seasoning, and the quality of the chicken and stuff is fantastic. It's the right texture. It's always great there. And it's made for the sauce. If you take the sauce away, it's not as good. Yeah, of course. That's stupid. That's a bad argument.
It is the sauce. I told you we got the second one in Washington State's coming, right by where I live. It's going to be amazing. The last 4 or 5 years I've spent Thanksgiving down in Arizona because of you introducing me to that sauce. Because again, we don't have it. Every year, I know you don't like Thanksgiving and you don't like that meal, but I take that turkey, I dip it in that sauce.
Oh, and that's the next level pro tip. Everyone is Raising Cane sauce can go on everything. You're making a cheeseburger at home and you got some extra Raising Cane sauce. Oh, it's so good.
So good. Well, this has been so good. So much fun. I appreciate you so much. You guys have always been so great to me. It's a thrill to have you on here.
Your journey is so wild. I mean, you had your whole what Pizza Hut was it? Like Commissioner
ESPN.
Of the Year.
Yep.
Commissioner of the Year thing, and then like you just were a dude who loved fantasy football so much so that when we would have industry conferences, you would just go. Like you're not affiliated with anyone. You just want to come be part of the scene, and you were able to see that. Like the fantasy football content creators, generally speaking, they're cool people. Like I'm buddies with so many people that my business competes with their business, but I love them. They're great people. We're friends. And then eventually you were just like, well, I'm gonna make my own band, and then you made a fantasy football brand. Dude, it's wild.
Well, you guys have supported me the whole way, so it's been a thrill. Again, having you on here has been great. Hopefully, we didn't get touch on it, but hopefully someday the community will see you out in Canton at the Fantasy Football Expo. There's a movement trying to get you out there.
Yeah,
I think you'd fit right in, but
I can tell you with pure honesty that every time we see it, I hate seeing the photos because I have the biggest FOMO and I'm so sad. But it's in August, which is like we just can't get out there. So I will not be out there this year. Stay tuned for next year.
Exactly. We're going to move that thing to July to get you out there. So on that note, again, thank you so much for joining me here. It's been an absolute pleasure. Can't wait to see what's new for you guys in 2025. If you want to share any projects you're on, any drops here before we close things out, let us know.
TheFantasyFootballers.com. That's where you'll find the podcast there. You'll find the draft kit there. That's the hub.
There you go. Mike Wright, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast. Until next time, be sure to follow and subscribe to all of FFU's social media accounts.